Well, at a certain point in time last year, after a Monday night game against the Kansas City Chiefs where the Patriots got steamrolled, some asshat came on here and talked about how Bill Belichick was to blame and that the Patriots were falling apart. And it most certainly looked like it at that point in time. Now, granted, that was obviously a bit of an overreaction and forgetting what has made the Patriots so good for so many years outside of the cheating, mind you. And that is the fact that they have a belief in their system. They have one of the best head coaches of all time in Bill Belichick, one of the best quarterbacks of all time in Tom Brady, and that they were going to be just fine. And ultimately, they proved themselves to be just fine after that 2-2 start, where honestly, even the week before that big loss to Kansas City that looked bad against Oakland, this is a team that managed to rally the troops, that managed to play some really good football down the stretch and found a way to get to the Super Bowl and then win Super Bowl 49. And as much as anything, the Seahawks found a way to choke it away. But a win is a win, especially when it comes to the Vince Lombardi Trophy. You take a Super Bowl championship however you can. And the Patriots most certainly, even with the asterisks and everything else that anybody wants to throw on them, have established themselves as one of the truly great NFL dynasties of all time. There is no question about that. So now, what's the follow-up deck? What's next for the New England Patriots come this 2015 season? Well, first, let's take a look at their offseason. You would expect for a team that goes to the Super Bowl and wins it that they're going to lose some pieces. It is the nature of the beast. Other teams will overpay for players from a Super Bowl championship team. Like that automatically is going to make them a Super Bowl contender. I've never really gotten that, but this is the way it's been forever. Going back to Alvin Harper signing with the Bucks way back when in the mid-'90s. Same with Larry Brown, Super Bowl MVP, getting a massive contract from Al Davis and the Oakland Raiders. This is just somebody's always par for the course. Now, sure, the Patriots lost some pieces, most notably their long-time stalwart on the inside of that defensive line of Vince Wilfork, and the guy that I think made so much of a difference for them in their defense, especially in the secondary, and Darrelle Revis, with him going back to the Jets. They also lost to Brandon Browner as well. But I don't think the losses were that particularly debilitating outside of the loss perhaps of Darrelle Revis. That was a key loss and a huge loss because the secondary had been such an issue for that Patriots defense for so many years. It finally had started to come together in 2014 with Revis there. I mean, they still had their flaws and lacked some depth, but now we're going to see what happens to him going forward. Obviously, with this offseason, the big story with the New England Patriots after their Super Bowl win and even before the Super Bowl win is Deflategate and all that goes along with that. Tom Brady's 4-game suspension that now is not. He's going to be there week 1 to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to be there, you would assume, all season long. Hopefully, once and for all, after all of these months, we can finally put the Deflategate shit behind us and just move on to freaking football. Let's hope we can all do that. Now, in terms of this New England Patriots team heading into 2015, what are the biggest strengths that they have? Well, first, Tom Brady. 4 Super Bowl championships, one of the best quarterbacks, not just of his time, but of all time in the history of the National Football League. When you start off with Tom Brady, even at his advanced age, even at the tail end stage of his career, you're still talking about one of the very best in the business and one of the best, most accomplished winners you will ever see in any North American professional sport. When you have that guy, it always gives you a chance to win. It always keeps you competitive. And is there any coincidence that the Patriots have been so competitive and so consistently really good for so many years? Throw the cheating shit out the window because there are all types of other teams in the NFL, I'm sure, that cheat on a consistent basis and still absolutely fucking suck. The fact of the matter is that Tom Brady is that starting point, along with, obviously, Bill Belichick. One of the truly great minds in the history of the National Football League. By hook or by crook, he gets the job done. Again, 4 Super Bowl championships, 2 other close Super Bowl losses. When you have Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in the fold, and you've had that same consistency there basically now for a decade and a half, I mean, that really just trickles down to the rest of the organization. You've got as good of a coach as anybody. You've got as good of a quarterback as anybody. If you want to be strong somewhere, those are the places to be strong because everything else can work around that. And then you look at a big beast at tight end like Rob Gronkowski, you've got one of the most versatile, explosive weapons at tight end and flat out period in all of the National Football League. But heading into 2015, I do have some concerns for this Patriots organization. I'm really still not that sold on their offensive line. I don't think they're that particularly good in pass protection, especially against speedy edge rushers, which I suppose you could say is a flaw of a lot of offensive line units. But this is a team I have some real concerns about their receiving core. Yes, you've got Julian Edelman, but LaFell is hurt right now. Danny Amendola is a walking injury waiting to happen, and there's nothing else really behind them at receiver that inspires any type of real confidence at all. You can have that arrogance of belief in Tom Brady and the system all you want, and to a degree I understand that, but at some point in time, some guys on the outside have got to be able to step up and play. Like last year, you had Edelman and LaFell, took some pressure, took some coverage, and took it away from Gronkowski. Now, if other teams don't have to worry about two guys on the outside, they can shadow more of their attention to Gronkowski and figure out more ways to eliminate him from the game plan. And now look at this Patriots receiving core. I really don't see a compelling young option on the horizon. I really think this could be a problem for them all year long. As well as on the defensive end, I look at that secondary, as I referenced earlier. It's been a Patriots problem for so many years. Finally, in 2014, it got better, and there were improvements to a degree. They were still somewhat vulnerable. You even saw that at times in the Super Bowl against a Seattle Seahawks team with undrafted players like freaking Doug Baldwin and Jermaine Kearse and Ricardo Lockett and Chris Matthews, for Christ's sakes. Some of those other corners that weren't named Darrelle Revis were having trouble with those guys. Think about that. And now you don't have Darrelle Revis. That Patriots defense could struggle all year long in large part, especially if they can't get a consistent pass rush with their front four or with 5 rushers. Man, people are going to eat apart that Patriots secondary just like they used to back in the day. In terms of players to watch for this team in 2015, on the offensive end, maybe I'll look at a young wide receiver like an Aaron Dobson. He was a higher pick a couple of years ago. They've still been waiting for him to really flash anything and show anything at all. And they need him to, even if LaFell is healthy, even if Amendola is healthy. And they need somebody like a Dobson to bring what he could potentially bring to the table in terms of his size, in terms of his athleticism, in terms of his quickness. They need him to be a playmaker on the outside to help out Tom Brady in that Patriots passing game. On the defensive end, I'll look at their first-round pick this year, Malcolm Brown. Is he going to be able to step in and effectively fill the void made by the departure of Vince Wilfork in the running game? You look at last year's first-round pick as well, defensive lineman Dominic Easley out of Florida. And, he was coming back from another knee injury. He didn't really play a whole lot, didn't really contribute a whole lot. Now you're in year 2. He's the type of guy that you could line up inside and outside as well, give you some versatility along that defensive line. Those two guys need to have a good season to help mask in part some of the deficiencies on the back end of that Patriots defense. And then on the back end of that Patriots defense, I look at the Super Bowl 49 hero Malcolm Butler. Now he's going to get his opportunity to shine. Now the focus will be on him. Teams will be game planning more for him. He will be one of the Patriots starters, at least to kick off the season. They need him to play at a decent level throughout the season. He doesn't have to be Darrelle Revis, but he can't be a scrub either. Now, in terms of this Patriots schedule, there are certain stretches that I look at here and I view as being critically important. Now, obviously, you can point to Week 1, their game against the Steelers in New England, and that's its own thing. We'll talk about that ad nauseum, but there are a few other games I want to focus on. Number 1, obviously, the big matchup, maybe the most anticipated matchup of the entire season. Week 6, the Deflatriots go to Indianapolis to go on the Crybabies. No, I'm kidding. The Patriots versus the Colts in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. Tom Brady versus Andrew Luck. Can the Colts finally find a way under Andrew Luck to beat Tom Brady and the Patriots? Are the Patriots going to be out for blood and revenge in that game because the Colts are the one that turned them into the NFL for Deflategate? My God. I don't even know if I want to tune into the TV all week long leading up to that game because I can only imagine the media coverage of that. And I imagine it is going to do one hell of a massive television rating that week. But that is going to be a monster game, especially because there could be some significant AFC playoff implications with that game. Now, I look at one stretch here in the middle of the season for the Patriots, a way for them to potentially pick up a couple of victories at home. They've got week 7 through 9. They've got 3 straight home games. And when you're a good team like the Patriots, you need to be able to handle your business at home. You go host the Jets, you host Miami, you host Washington. Washington had better be a victory. The Jets, honestly, should be a victory, especially New England. And then Miami, that's kind of a critical game. You don't want to just automatically give it to the Patriots because the Dolphins can beat them, and they have beat them before with Tannehill at quarterback. But that's a stretch of the schedule right there. If the Patriots want to entertain the thought of maybe having a first-round bye, perhaps even home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs, they must go 3-0 during that stretch of schedule. If they do not, you can forget it. Not necessarily forget it about them winning the AFC East or forget it about them making the playoffs. But in terms of home field advantage throughout, I don't think so. They've got to be able to win that Week 7 to 9 stretch of the Jets at home, the Dolphins at home, and the Redskins at home, period. That's 2 divisional games and 3 total games at home in a row. You've got to handle that. And then, of course, week number 12, where the Patriots go to Denver to take on Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. This one has so many different things in it. But honestly, just from the standpoint of all the times these guys have faced off over the years, one more time perhaps. And it could be the last time. And it could be a special feeling type of game. Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. One last showdown between 2 of the great gunslingers in the history of the National Football League. And obviously, when you throw in the fact that these are 2 premier AFC teams in theory, 2 teams that could potentially be vying for playoff position, first-round bye, home field advantage, that just adds to it. But just the thought of Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning one more time is enough to get the media in a freaking tizzy and the fans in a tizzy, similar to what that Week 6 matchup against the Colts in Indianapolis is going to be like. In terms of the Patriots this year, I don't want to just automatically crown their asses because they're defending Super Bowl champions, because as we know, it is very hard to repeat. And I don't think this is a team that is going to win the Super Bowl or even make it to the Super Bowl. And maybe they will, and maybe they'll surprise me. But I really feel like last year was kind of like their last good shot, and they took advantage of it and made the most of it. This is still a competitive team. This is still a pretty good team. This is still a team that is a force to be reckoned with. And if they get some good breaks, and they get some good matchups, perhaps come playoff time, this is a team, who knows, could slide right back into Super Bowl 50. I also look at this team, and I remember back before the 2007 season when the Spygate crap broke and all of that went down, and everybody was against the Patriots, and the Belichick pulled off one of the true master strokes, other than his cheating over the years, of being able to insulate his team from that, shield them from that, and get them to play with an edge, get them to play with a chip on their shoulder, wanting to prove themselves, and they went out in the regular season and went 16-0. So I don't want to necessarily underrate this Patriots team either, because we've seen them in a similar situation before in similar circumstances, and we've seen how they responded. They had one of the truly great seasons of a team in NFL history in 2007, going 16-0, making it to the Super Bowl, and really honestly, they were a David Tyree fluke catch away from winning the championship and finishing an undefeated season at 19-0, being talked about as the greatest team of all time. So I don't want to underrate them either. But I do think this Patriots team is going to take a little bit of a step back. Not a huge step back, but a little bit of one. I have some concerns about their secondary. I don't think their defensive line, with the loss of Wilfork, is going to be as good. Again, I have some small concerns about their offensive line, and in particular the receiving core. Tom Brady is another year older. At some point in time, you'd have to imagine the bottom will have to start to slowly pull out from under him at least a little bit. This is going to be a good team. This is going to be a team that contends in the AFC East for sure. And I think this is a Patriots team that'll probably go 10-6, maybe 11-5. 9-7 isn't out of the realm of possibility. However, I do kind of think that 12-4 is.